Hi, thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. My name is Trevor Lean, and today I'm going to show you how I designed and created my own custom shoes from scratch. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. I'm going to start off this story with a little recap so you get to know my background for this project a bit. I'm a big-time sneaker enthusiast and pride myself on my knowledge of shoes. I've watched countless hours of sneaker YouTube and can credit the start of my actual knowledge to Nightwing2303 in his performance review of the HyperRev 2014 that I saw on finishline.com.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is Chris from kicksontorque.com. Today we have a performance review on the Nike Zoom HyperRev. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it.
I've listened to many hours of podcasts and spent just as much time on sneaker blogs and forums as well. I worked at Champs for my first job and have wanted to be a real footwear designer since I was 15. I've designed many of my own shoes over the years, but never thought I would be able to produce any of them on my own or even in my own garage. That was until I took the Shoe Surgeon's monthly course.
I'm Dominic Ciambroni, aka the Shoe Surgeon. I'm a custom shoemaker and designer, and welcome to my monthly class. This class is a hands-on 30-day learning experience designed to teach you the complete craft of custom shoemaking. You'll start the class with raw materials like leather and foam, and by the end of the class, you'll transform these materials into your very own pair of custom one-of-a-kind sneakers.
In this course, I learned how to make my own pair of Jordan 1s from scratch and made my own version of the shattered backboard 1s. The kit I bought from the surgeon contained everything I needed to make a pair of shoes, including the materials, the lasts, patterns, and tools. I just had to provide the glue, thread, sewing machine, donor, cutting mat, and acetone. Over the period of a month, I took 3 squares of leather and some other materials and turned them into my very own Jordan 1s. Shortly after finishing these, I decided I would make a pair of Royal ones as well, but this time I would tweak the pattern to resemble the 85 shape that I love so much. I also used veg tan leather and dyed it myself. I had seen Maxio 6 make his own out of the smooth veg tan, and that was the look I wanted. It was smooth sailing, and I was really happy with how the pair was turning out until it was time to last. The veg tan just doesn't stretch enough for the pattern I was using. I had adjusted the toes of the pattern that was provided to me, but the pattern was for a size 10 and was supposed to stretch to 10.5. It just wouldn't stretch, so I had to either scrap and change the entire thing or try and salvage it and change the toes. I went with the second option, but fell victim to the veg tan once again since I was trying to wrap the flat toe around the last, and I did not know that I could have sewn it on at an angle. And it ended up with a bunch of ripples that would not come out. It also didn't help that I made the toes hastily and overcompensated for the lack of material from the try prior. I will make another pair of ones sometime soon and will do some more testing so I get it right this time. After making these shoes, I thought of the possibility of making my own shoe that I would be able to include in my design portfolio with a box and a poster or ad to go with it. So I started doing some research and drawing. I started off by drawing shoes that I would want to be my own. I took inspiration from shoes that I already liked and put them into my own shoe. I was going to use a dunk sole this time since I knew it would still work for my Jordan 1 last, and I started doing some mock-ups on my iPad. I had been looking for videos of people making their own sneakers on YouTube and found good explanational videos of people making their own boots and hard sole shoes, so I decided to take that and translate the process to my sneaker making knowledge. I found some videos by Andrew Reason where I learned how to make my own pattern for the shoe. First, I taped the last so I could translate my pattern onto the shoe. I taped over the last in 2 directions so it would make pulling it off easier, and I started doing my best to draw the pattern on the tape. I drew it on both sides, but I later decided to make both sides the same so it would make it easier on myself. I pulled the tape off and used an awl to poke holes in it and translate the tape pattern to cardstock. After that, I adjusted the pattern to make the lines what I wanted them to be, and I finalized my pattern. For the materials, I wanted to make a smooth white leather sneaker with a few suede pieces. I wanted to use some softer materials than the veg tan I used the time before because of the problems I had to deal with. The stuff I got was a bit thinner than I was hoping for, but it worked just fine. I also wanted to have a fabric liner since the last time I used lambskin as my liner. For the inner materials, I used stuff I had from an inner material pack that I bought from the shoe surgeon, and I bought a donor pair of dunks off of eBay. I traced out all of my pattern pieces and got those cut out. I de-stitched the soles of the donors with an awl and was expecting to need to use acetone as usual, but the soles came right off. I wiped them down with acetone to get rid of the residue. For sewing, I used an old industrial Singer from the 1950s that I borrowed from a friend. The thing is a beast and it's pretty touchy, so I decided to hand crank it to make sure I got all the stitches how I wanted them. I started by taping the leather pieces to my main base and assembling them. I worked on both shoes at the same time to make sure everything looked the same. When I got to gluing the toe liner, I decided to use contact cement, but the yellow of the glue made the fabric look bad, and I decided I needed a bit more rigidity in the toes as well, so I remade the toes with lambskin liners. For the main liner, I decided to sew it in instead of gluing it in. So I'm redoing my toes. I tried gluing on the fabric liner with contact cement, but it turned yellow, and it's just not really as stiff still as I wanted it to. And I also forgot to put in my toe puff. So I'm going to remake these. Also messed up on the stitching right here. Focus, please. Just kind of spaced out, got a little far away. But I'm going to retry these. For my liners, focus. I'm not going to use contact cement because it's going to turn yellow. I'm just going to sew them in below the lasting allowance, and I think it should be good. It was a bit loose inside, but otherwise it turned out good. When it was time to put the toes on, I realized I made one a bit longer than the other, but I felt like it was pretty unnoticeable. The leather I used made the lasting process really easy. I took my time and made sure everything was stretched and looked how I wanted. I put my contact cement in and waited for it to cure for 30 minutes. When it was done, I reactivated with the heat gun and made sure everything was properly bonded. I removed the nails and started skiving off the bottom of the sole so it would go on nice. I would have liked to use a Dremel here, but the box cutter I used worked fine. I applied contact cement to the soles and the shoes and let them cure for 40 minutes. I activated the glue with a heat gun and attached the soles to the uppers. I made sure everything was bonded, then I took the shoes off the last. After that, I sewed the soles on with a hook awl and finished my shoes. These are my first shoes that I've designed and created on my own. The second part of this project was designing a new shoebox for the shoe and for me to put in my portfolio. The problems I was trying to solve with this box was for me to be able to carry the shoebox without a bag and to be able to easily access the shoes while they are under a stack of other boxes. My main concept was for me to have a drawer box with a handle that you could also carry it by. I would keep the rectangular shape for ease of shipping and efficient use of space. I had thought of making it a different shape, but it just wouldn't be practical in a retail setting. I started out with regular cardboard and made 2 iterations of the inside box. I was having difficulty trying to deal with the thickness of the cardboard, so I decided to buy some E-flute cardboard at a local art store that was half the thickness. Retail shoeboxes are built using similar cardboard, so the change made sense. The first box design I made had a tapered inner box to allow ease of re-entry, a pull handle that doubled as a carrying handle, and 2 pieces that folded over the handle to keep the outer box on. The handle was way too flimsy for carrying, and the flaps were too fragile as well. For the next iteration, I would have to beef that up quite a bit. The changes I made to the second box were just in the handle and securing mechanism. The dimensions worked really well, so I kept them all the same. I beefed up the handle and made more layers of the handle into the outer box as well. It was super sturdy, but it was not comfortable to hold, and the outside handles would not stay down. The handle of the inner box was definitely sturdy enough to carry the sneakers, and so I just redesigned the outer box. For the final box, I made 2 flaps on the outer box with tabs that secured to the top of the inner box. This design worked really well and looked good as well. The handles also were able to fold into the wall of the box so it could be shipped to stores flat with boxes that were different. A retail employee would be easily able to pop the handles out so the customer could leave without using a bag. For the third part of this project, I wanted to make a poster that would show off my shoes and my box in an ad that could be in a magazine or on a poster somewhere. I bought a 4-foot wide roll of white paper to use as my backdrop, and I started taking photos of my shoes and the box. I went through a few versions, but I landed on a picture of the box sliding out underneath a large stack of shoe boxes. Overall, I'm really happy with how this project turned out. As for the shoes, what I would have done differently, I probably would have used a thicker leather. It's a little thinner than I would like, but that and a different material for the liner. I chose kind of a stretchy cloth material, but it's not really meant for a liner. And then for the box, I would probably like to screen print it or do some graphic design work on it, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I don't really have much else to say. So thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.